So I took a break from coffee for like a week, and I'm so happy that the break is over because I think life is definitely better with coffee. But what I got to experience was that little voice in my head that was like wanting me so badly to go get some coffee. Like every morning there was like this little tiny voice, and it was like, just go get a little bit. Like it's good for you. It'll be okay. And it's like it's so interesting because that's the same voice that like urges us to go get like cravings at night. That's the same little voice that used to bug me when I was younger. I had an addiction to Ben and Jerry's. Talked about this before. The Ben and Jerry's a hot fudge brownie ice cream. If you ever had it, it's so good, but it's got like 50 ingredients on the back of the label. And yeah, that same little voice. And they say a lot of times, like with addictions and with that little voice that speaks to us, it's like a younger version of ourselves that, like way younger, when we were young, there was a moment in time where we felt like we didn't get our needs met. And so when we start to feel that same, those same feelings of, usually it's like we're so uncomfortable with just sitting still and being, being at peace feels like being in the middle of chaos because we are taught to be kind of addicted to adrenaline and stress and dopamine. So being peaceful, being calm feels like a threat almost. So anyway, you got that little voice kind of speaking to you, always trying to get you to go do something, and instead of being still with your own body, with your own breath. And I got to sit with that voice, and every time it came up, like because I told myself that I would go 7 days, I had to have a conversation with the voice, because if I didn't, it would just like, it would keep like looping. So, when it would come up, I would just treat it like it's a younger version of myself. So like 3 or 4 year old Rachel. I'm like, I know you really, really want coffee right now, but it's gonna be okay. Like we're in the middle of an experiment, and we have to finish this experiment because we have to see what it's like to not have coffee. And it's not for forever, it's just for right now. And on day 8, which was actually yesterday, on day 8, we're gonna have 2 cups of coffee, you know? And it reminds me, there's like in psychology, they have like the marshmallow experiment where they take really young kids, like 2 to 4 years old, and you can Google it, it's on YouTube, and they sit them down and they put a marshmallow in front of the kid. And it's a experiment on delayed gratification, and like basically I think they followed the kids into adulthood to see like if they had these delayed gratification skills when they're young, what are they more likely to do as they get older. So they sat the kids at the table, and they said, and it was a room with they're being filmed, and they put the marshmallow in front of them, and they said, look, I'm going to leave the room, I'm going to leave you here. If you don't touch this marshmallow, when I get back, you'll get 2 marshmallows. And so some of the kids, like, that you'd see them in the video, they're like touching it, they're playing with it, they're sniffing it. And the messages on delayed gratification, so those who couldn't wait ended up showing more impulsive tendencies when they're older. And we also know that like impulsiveness has a lot to do with like pregnancy, nutrition, and very early development, like our metabolic status when we're even in the womb, and the trauma that we go through. That can lead into like addictions later in life, or impulsivity. So I think I always like looking at psychology, because like experiments like that, they show us the importance of practicing delayed gratification. So that's what my experiment was basically on. And that's also like what exercise is, what nutrition is like, okay, I know you may want like the hot glazed donut. Like I love food. People always tell me, they're like, oh, you seem so disciplined, you're so motivated. It's like, motivation is not just something that we feel out of the blue. Motivation follows an action, and it's a biochemical response. So I think like when you start to like put on your scientific cap, you start to look at everything just like biochemistry. Like everything that I do in my life is just biochemistry. the way that I feel, the food that I'm eating, right? And if the food and all of this stuff becomes about biochemistry, then it makes it very apparent, okay, what is the best things and the best actions I can take to support my biochemistry and to support the mitochondria, because that is the powerhouse of the cell. So, that's why I'm a big fan of like the carnivore and the ketogenic diet, and it really was helpful, I think, too, because all this is like hitting the dopamine centers, hitting those pleasure centers, and when you just delay that off and you create your own dopamine, so like even going to exercise is like creating your own dopamine, create your own blood sugar. That is delayed gratification, because if I'd wait to, so like a lot of times like people eat like a lot of carbs before they go to work out. And if you go and listen to like Anthony Chaffee, you just go start to study the biochemistry, to be completely honest, like we make our own blood sugar. It's actually interesting. Like years ago, I was training with a diabetic, and she was monitoring her blood sugar really close, and she was like, oh my gosh, my blood sugar shot up when I exercise. Of course the blood sugar shoots up when we exercise, because we're asking the body for energy creation. Asking you shall receive. When I exercise, when I resistance train especially, what am I doing in my body? I'm feeling all this lactic acid. I'm feeling a buildup in my muscles, carbon dioxide, all these waste products. And because I'm creating all of this, I'm actually asking my body to work more for me. I'm asking, because mitochondria, they have their own DNA, they can create more themselves. I'm actually asking for more mitochondria. I am asking my immune system to flare up intentionally, because like when we exercise, we also know that our body temperature elevates. So I'm intentionally asking my body to take care of me and support me and to recover by intentionally breaking it down. So like we unintentionally break down our bodies all the time when we eat a bunch of processed sugar and stuff like that. That's also going to flare the immune system. But there's no stimulus for recovery. It's just like I'm eating all this processed food, tons of sugar, my body temperature is raising, my immune system is in chaos trying to, cut out all the inflammation that's around. But when you go and exercise, it's an intentional stimulus. So it's like there's a reward, there's a delayed gratification. After that, you're practicing fever, you're practicing immune function. And, even to go and to talk about like, the thyroid, because I was making a few videos a few months ago, like anxiety and depression are symptoms of thyroid dysfunction. So how many people do we actually just put on medications before working with these metabolic processes? Because the thyroid is regulating our metabolism, it's regulating our hormones and our ability to like break down and perform energy. So every time you work with temperature and heat, you are working directly with like all of these organ centers, which is just so beautiful. And so yeah, like going back to like carnivore ketogenic diet, like if I'm not eating any external carbs, and even ketogenic diet has like below 100 grams of carbs a day, you can still be in ketosis, like if you're not too stressed, if you're calm and relaxed and whatnot. But if you're not eating any carbohydrates, where is the body gonna have carbs coming from? We create sugar through gluconeogenesis, the creation of new blood sugar. So it's so beautiful it's so beautiful the way that our bodies work. Like, if you get the full profile of the amino acids, and I've talked about this before, like we can make conditional and non-essential amino acids. So if we get these essential 9, which call them essential because we must obtain them through diet, we can create these other amino acids that we can use in the body as like different intermediates in metabolism, which is so beautiful, because like a lot of times people will get certain supplements, like I'm supplementing non-conditional and I'm supplementing non-essential amino acids. Well, why am I going to such a weak source? Like, I'm not saying that it would be bad, right? But like, if I shifted my focus, instead of focusing on this like tiny little single supplement over here, which Mama Nature doesn't come in single supplement, She comes in full force, in full complexity. You know, if I take a steak, I'm getting all of that. I'm getting all of that, all the cofactors, the magnesium, the selenium, all of these cofactors. Like, even like magnesium is helpful to supplement, okay? But what is magnesium driving forward? What are these chemical reactions driving forward? It's the complexity of all the minerals and all the nutrients at once. And like our bodies can handle tons of stress. That's why, like, we call diabetes, it's an energetic disease. So like many things can come from diabetes, diabetic complications. We can have neuropathy, cardiovascular risk, neurological risk. Like there's so many diabetic complications because it's an energetic complication of the body. So that's why, I'm a big fan of the weight training too, is because it's one of the best ways to increase insulin sensitivity. And what it's really doing, if you think about what it means to exercise, like we were saying, stimulating the lactic acid, which is a fuel source for the body. We actually produce lactic acid, like even though you don't feel like your muscles burning right now, like as you're just sitting down or whatever, we are constantly creating, like the cell is constantly working. It's working just to hold you up in your posture, just to have your eyelids open, for the respiratory, through the nostrils, for all these muscles that are moving and all these processes that are happening that we don't think about, digestion, whatever. There's so much happening. There's always like metabolic products that are being made. But when you put yourself under the weight and start resistance training, you heighten that. You heighten it. You look it in the face. You look at your weaknesses in the face. You look at the tension and your mindset of you being about to break. I can't do this. And then you have the conversation. I can do this. My body's healing. This is good for me. And it's like, it's so beautiful because resistance training is one of the best ways to expand on your mitochondria capacity. So when you put on muscle in your body, you can't put on muscle without having the powerhouse of the cell. Like it takes so much energy to have muscle in the body, and that's our storage capacity for amino acids. Like muscle is amino acids. If you think about what muscle is, it's red meat. And in times of need, we can use that energy. So in times of need, let's say like I have a stressful event, I did this. So like, what if somebody calls me and my everything in my body stresses out? Well, my immune system is also going to respond to that too, because anytime we stress, anytime we have high blood sugar, high cortisol, the immune system is also involved, because the body doesn't just leave us out in the wilderness. Like if my blood sugar goes up, it's always working to bring it back to the midline. If it goes down, it's always been worked to bring it back to the midline. The body is always working to bring us back to this state of balance within the nervous system, within all of these levels and different little factors. But muscle is like a backup capacity for the immune system. It can balance our oxygen levels. It can scoop up excess blood sugar. And like a lot of times, with surgery, they'll tell people to get strong for surgery, because it's intense. It's an intense process, and it makes the healing process better if you have muscle on the body. It's a resiliency factor. So anyway, the mitochondria is how we hydrate the cell in the body. They're like balls of sun, and they create infrared lights, and they hydrate the cell through all the energy that they're pushing through. It's so beautiful. It's like you are expanding your light, and people feel that. People feel when you have a lot of energy, they just feel calm, they feel safe. It takes a lot of energy to be calm and centered and grounded, because there's a lot of reasons to not be calm and centered or grounded. It's kind of easy to get agitated with somebody. It's easy to get upset and impatient with people. And I went through this like years ago too, when I was trying to come off the anti-anxiety medications I was on. I started studying the biochemistry and the amino acids and stuff. I was really like not having a good time with becoming very. I had like a short fuse. Like it was like people didn't have to do much for me to get irritated around them, and it's like I didn't like that about myself. I was like I know myself to be a calm person. Like I want to show up around the people that I love with so much patience. Like even if I have every right to get upset or to be short-tempered, and I want to give patience. I want to be calm and grounded. So, that's what brought me to all this stuff too. Is I really wanted to get out of that cycle, cuz yeah, like agitation and irritation, those are symptoms of depression and symptoms of Alzheimer's dementia as well. If you don't have a family member struggling with that, you'll notice, agitation and irritation is some of those early stages of dementia, OCD, all these types of stuff. So it's interesting, and like I said, it's a symptom of depression, and depression is a symptom of thyroid dysfunction too. So it's so interesting. I think it's so fascinating when you start to look at these major organ centers, when you start to look at everything through like a biochemical lens. Like my emotions, they are just biochemistry. Like the emotions are always valid, and they're always trying to tell us, like, it's how our body communicates to us what it needs from us. Like I feel low, and like I don't have enough of what I need. I feel anxious. Maybe I need to nurture myself a little bit more. Maybe I need to work on my strength, move this energy in a different way. Anyway, I hope this is helpful for you. Again, where I started with this was taking a break from coffee. That was a really great experiment, and I invite you to take a break from like one habit in the morning, whatever you're used to doing. If you don't want it to be coffee, because that was the last thing I wanted to give up was coffee, because I love coffee. It gives me a reason to wake up in the morning and to enjoy life. I know, I'm right there with you. But it could be anything that you take out, because you shift your entire biochemistry with just changing one small habit. So I wish you the best of luck. Happy experimenting, and I'll catch you later.